know, I told you I was going back to work today. Well, I was wrong. We're actually going to go tracking today. So, I got a big swamp down over here. We're going to work to that. I'm going to go cruise through here real quick. If I don't pick up a track, we'll go to a different spot. So, there was a fresh tow track over here crossing the road. So we'll see what we got with that. See if we can get along the swamp, work it, and see if we can pick up a buck track. So let's get to it. Alright, we dropped down in here and I got on this doe track. How do I know it's a doe? See how straight those are pointing? That's a doe. They're just walking nice and straight line. The toes aren't kicked out at all. Now you're asking, why am I following a doe? Well, deer beget deer. They're going to go where deer go. So we're going to follow her for a while and get back down in here. The swamp is back that way. And there should be another one up ahead of me here. So we're just going to follow her. She's probably going to bed down along that swamp. See if we bump her up, but we should, once we get back into this next section, there should be some buck tracks in here, so we'll just go for ways and see what we see. She's less than an hour in front of me, so let's go get on a good track. Well, we've been going for about an hour now. I ain't got a track yet, other than that doe. We're circling up the hill. We'll make a big turn, circle this hill, get way up. I just cut another hunter's track over here. And just out of curiosity, I texted a buddy of mine who lives like right down the road. I said, hey, are you hunting behind your house? And he said, yeah. Is that your car over here? I says, yep. I recognize his little itty bitty tracks. That's for you, Chris. Anyways, we're gonna circle this hill up here, get up higher. Most of that buck sign was up higher. That one buck, when we tracked him through here, he cut low, but he was headed in this direction. So we're just gonna make a big circle here. Should be able to cut something. And it's raining. This snow ain't gonna last long. It'll be lucky. It's gonna be almost 40 degrees today and raining. So we'd be lucky if the snow makes the day. There's probably 2 inches of snow. Perfect tracking snow. Soft, quiet. I can move along with impunity through here. I'm just walking as fast as I can, just to try to cut a track. But I can see far enough in the distance with the snow on the ground to see if there's something moving.
Alright, at this point I'm going to have to do some filling in. I'm missing 2 very important segments of film due to some technical difficulties. If anybody remembers the 22nd of November this year, they'll remember that the morning it was raining really hard. It was warm, which will cause your camera to fog up, and a lot of times it will cause the audio not to work. Well, guess what? That's exactly what happened to me. So even though I filmed, the segments were so garbled that we just can't use them. It's just so bad. You can't even see me. You can kind of hear me mumbling. I sounded like Charlie Brown's parents in it. So let me tell you what happened. I left that cut where I'd found Chris's tracks and I'd worked my way to the top of the ridge. I worked over the top of the ridge and I finally hit some tracks. Started following them. They were pretty small. Now the nice thing was the snow was so soft I could move extremely fast and be silent. I walked right up on top of these 3 does, right up to 20 yards. One finally picked me off and got up and ran off. Thing was that all 3 of them were young and small. There were 2 of them that were fawns from this year and one was a yearling. Now at first I thought it might have been a mother with her 2 fawns, but in retrospect, looking at the size of the beds and the way they reacted, I'm pretty sure that it was the fawn from last year hanging out with this year's fawns because mom was off with a suitor. So I followed them a little bit, and then I came up, cut around another little swamp area, and hit a Class 6 road. I decided I was going to walk that Class 6 road while it was raining, just to see if I could cut a track. And lo and behold, I worked down the hill, probably about a quarter mile, and I picked up my first buck track of the day. Fairly decent one. Nothing super huge, but it was a buck track, so I got on it. And I followed him for quite a ways. He dropped down into a hemlock stand that had a bunch of doe bedding. There was another buck track in there, but it was from the night before. So I stayed on that fresh track, and it came down, it cut across another cut, and as soon as it did that, I slowed way down because it was going into another hemlock stand. And I just had this feeling that the way this buck had been moving, he was gonna either bed or I was gonna catch up to him with some does. I moved across that cut really slow with some cover, dropped into that next hemlock stand, and I didn't go probably 30 yards, and I saw something dark up on a knob, just not moving. And I stood there and I looked at it for probably 20 minutes, and I was filming it. I finally moved to my right just a hair, and it stood up, and it was a buck. It was the buck that I'd been tracking. He was pretty decent. He was a 6-pointer, and I filmed him for, 10 minutes that he stood there and just stared at me, trying to figure out what I was. Finally, he bounded up the hill, and I continued towards where he was bedding. And when I did, I cut a fresher track, a huge buck track. And this is where this next piece of film is. It'll pick up with me getting on that other buck track. So let's get to that part, and it's just going to get more interesting as we go.
All right, here's an update. We're on a different buck right now. I went back over and rechecked all those tracks, and the buck that I saw was just laying down there by himself. There was no other deer with him. What it looked like is he was a newcomer, and he just showed up, and he laid down where they had laid down. Now what I got is I've got a really good sized buck, a shooter sized buck according to the track, running a doe. And here's the killer. If I had come in about 10 minutes later than I did, they would have ran right through here because I didn't put them up. What I'm thinking is this big buck got that doe up and she started running, and he's running her right down this trail right here. You can see the tracks running that way. And then if you come back here, this is where I was following that other buck right here, walking that way. As a matter of fact, we'll see his track. Yeah, that's his track right there. And then it goes up through that way. So this is all new. It looks like there's just a doe and a big buck. So I gotta check the time, but I'm gonna get on this thing and I'm gonna stay on it. They're moving pretty friggin' fast. So we gotta get going. I'll show you what we got going on here. You can see where he landed. You can see his track from here. It's pretty big. The does are running right here. It could be does and a smaller buck running up the hill there. He's got probably a 10-foot jump going, so they're moving really fast. So I'm moving really fast. I had to stop, and I know there's a bunch of you that hate it, but I had to put in a track and chew because you need it for something like this. And I'll try not to spit on camera, but just well be known, we have tracking chew on this one. This is the first good track I've had all season. Anyways, this one here looks like a really good track. It's a big track. It's probably 180 to 170, 190 pound deer. So we're gonna go get on him. We got to do a lot of traveling. We may not catch up to him. He's got probably an hour and a half on us right now. So I gotta close some ground. So instead of talking, let's do some walking. I just walked up over the hill and there was one bedded right there. Pretty nice buck, real wide. He ran right through here, so give him a minute and then we'll get back on him. Pretty decent buck, heavy body. believe I just made that mistake. Could have shot him right in his bed. They were still like running tracks up here, so I don't know if it's the big one or not, but we'll get back on it. Old camera's taking it tough today. It is wet out. So, in retrospect, that buck, when I came up over that hill, that buck was bedded right here. Alright? Those other deer cut through here and went back that way. He came in from over here, laid down. So that wasn't the buck I was tracking. And I knew, once I got on the track over here, I followed him out a little bit, and I could see it was a smaller track than the one I've been following all day. Pretty, really, excuse the camera, it's getting a little foggy in there. It was a totally different buck. I could just tell from the track and the way he carried himself, and that he didn't have as much weight as the one that's up here. So we're going to eat something, get some water, and then we're going to walk back up here and get back on the original tracks that we were following, because that one there is a lot heavier of a deer. He's crowding in pretty heavy. I cut their tracks back up here. Almost looks like they were on this ridge when I came down. So I don't know what they did. They may still be up on that long part of that ridge. But we'll see. I'm quiet enough that I'm walking right up on top of these deer. I'm glad now I didn't shoot. It was pretty, the reason I didn't shoot, there was a lot of whips, and you can see there's a lot of brush in here from up on the top. I was up on that hill when I came over and he stood up. And I watched him. I had the bead on him, but I just didn't dare to pull the trigger because I didn't think I had a clean shot. I could see he had a wide rack, but it didn't look like it had a lot of mass to it. He did look like a pretty decent long buck, but I don't know. If I did, I would have dropped him right in this water. It's really not what I wanted to do. So, alright, so we're going to eat, climb back up on this ridge and follow the tracks out and see where they go. They're walking now. So, and they're J-hooking back, so they're probably going to bed up here on top of this ridge. That behind me, on this ridge, back in there, it's pretty softwoods as you go back. Either that, or they're going to go over and they're going to cross and they're going to head down to the other swamp. So, it's only it's not even 1 o'clock yet. All right, I'm on him. I just put him up. They're just ahead of me here. He's a nice 8-pointer. Really nice one. So we're going to get back on him here. They were in there that whole time. Then they were just in here in this low section again. They're just going around in circles. He's a big one too. He's a really nice deer. So, I mean, he's just ahead of me. So I just got to be ready. It looks like it's all open hardwoods up ahead of me, so I should be able to spot him. He may only be a couple 100 yards. Whew, he's a good one. Well, we've gone about a mile. They haven't stopped running. After I had sorted that stuff out and followed them up over the hill, I came down and they were in that low section, and I really couldn't shoot. She was on the wrong side of him, is what I'm trying to say. And then they took off, and I didn't really have a good shot up through there. It's so thick in here. Look at this. And so I saw them they went down in the hardwoods, and then they cut back up. And I shit you not, they ran right in front of my car. Right through the landing. And then they come out into this stuff. And they just made a big circle, and now they're heading back. There's a big swamp ahead of us somewhere. And that's kind of where they're heading. So, I've been trucking. I haven't stopped yet, so, until now. So, we're going to get back on it. Well, we just shot at him. He's a freaking good one. I was over there by them hemlocks behind me. Right up in there. He was over on this bank. I don't know how clear a shot I had. It looked clear, but it was about a 100-yard shot. He was laying right on this bank. I figured they would be pretty tired. So we're gonna work up here to his bed and see if I got any blood. Then we'll get back on the track. What a friggin' fat buck. Yeah, it's about 3 right now, so I got about an hour and a half to try to catch up to him. A lot of stuff in the way, but it looked clear from back there. I didn't think I was going to get a better shot than that. He didn't look hit when I shot, though. Him and the doe were bedded right up here. He was right on the bank. There's his bed. It's a long shot, but a lot of stuff in the way. But we got his track, and we know he's pretty close. This is where he was laying. Would have been lucky to get him. I don't think I could have got any closer. Alright, well, we're going to get back on him. Well, I missed. I kind of thought I did. It was a gamble shot. Figured I probably ought to take it. Freaking monster buck. He wasn't a great giant rag, but he had a monster body on him. 200-pound deer. All day long, the 200-pound deer. Now that I've seen him in the flesh, you could tell from his foot, but we've come to a end of this track. See right there on that tree? See that? See that track? Heading right down there onto the posted. All of that work. All of that work for nothing. I know I could have caught him again. It's the third time I caught up with him today. I should have backed up and tried to get around, but 20/20 hindsight. That's the story of this season, I guess. Well, I got one more thought. They ran down here. I don't know if they're going to keep going straight, but they may turn and head that way, which I'm going to walk back, straight back, and that should take me to an access road. And I can walk up the access road and see if they came out. The road shouldn't be less than a half a mile up, so we'll go do that. Alright, well, as you can probably tell, it's getting late in the day. We got back to the stealth mobile. I've got to get my truck going. I don't like driving this thing. Anyways, we put some dry clothes on because we were soaked to the bone. The coat's absolutely drenched. My gloves, I don't think they'll ever dry, but it's the price you pay. And of course, the adrenaline's flowing, so you don't know that you're cold and wet. You're focused on the track. You're focused on everything that's going on around you, so you don't even know that you're getting cold and wet. So that's why I wear wool, is so when I do get wet, I don't get cold. So I've got my wool pants on, I got my wool jacket, and actually wool gloves. So I was actually pretty warm all day. And the ice bugs performed beautifully. My feet are still nice and dry.
and with the studs I get quite a bit of extra traction. So, that said, where we left that deer going down onto that posted piece after I shot at him, I think we're going to try to get back on him. I'm going to try to figure out how to get around that posted piece. And I think they're going to be just back up in here anyways, because the way he was moving all day, he would go a long distance without stopping, and then he'd bed with the doe. And if everything goes the way it is, he won't stay on that posted piece. I don't think it's very big anyways. I think he's angling back up here to where I picked him up. So I would imagine he'll be back in that section tomorrow morning. So I'm gonna do a little bit of investigation here, and then we'll be able to tell how I gotta go in and try to get him. And then it all depends on the wind too. I suspect that it's going to get cold tonight, and the snow's going to turn all crunchy and hard, which is going to make it really hard tracking tomorrow. It can be done, but you got to be on top of your game and ready to make a quick shot. I think he's heading back into here, so we'll get it back in the morning. So keep that in mind when you're tracking. You can get back on a buck that you leave in the evening and catch up to him the next day. You just have to be moving. You got to get in there, you have to read the sign, and you got to move, and you can't get discouraged. His track is so easy to tell, you can't mix it up. It's so big. All the other bucks that are in here, there's nothing that big in here, so it's not like you're going to get mixed up between tracks. So we'll get in there. I may go tooling around here in a bit and go see if I can find that road back there and drive up and kind of see if those deer crossed that road someplace. And if they did, I can go in there. So I completely intend on shooting that buck. I should have had him today. If that doe had not been on my side of him when he got up and they started to walk off, or not even walk off, it was kind of almost like a trot, he would have been dead. But she was right there, and I don't want to shoot over her, so in case something goes wrong. I saw him one more time over here. I mean, we're sitting in the stealth mobile, and I can see where they crossed, right in front of the car, right on the outside of the landing, where they came down through here. So the other shot I could have taken was right back here on this side. There's a bunch of beech. They were in that. So anyways, I guess the moral of this story is don't give up. If you got a buck you want to kill and you can get on him like we're on this one here, just stay on him. Be like a bulldog. Get on him and don't let go.